Good.
All right, today we're going to learn the halacha if we're allowed to have at home as a pet birds.
Birds.
Yeah. So it's not halacha really. It starts with the concept that an Indian, a minhag, not to have it, and you could see it borders with halacha. So I'm going to tell you, it brought in many sforim. Rabbi Yehuda Tzavos, Rabbi Yehuda Chosid, Rabbi Chaim Vital brings from Arizal. I brought in many. I'm choosing to read from the Pele Yoyetz because he's the one elaborating it the most, and he explains this why and how, like I said, how it's converts to halacha. Amar Rabbi Zal. Tsar Balachaim the rice. Over here he takes the side the Tsar Balachaim the rice, and later on he's going to say some machloikas. It's like this. The Torah Lagdim is on the same kodem sheyechalhu. If you have a pet at home, first of all you have to make sure they eat before you eat. If you sit for a meal before you start eating, feed them first. Moshalamdu the pasuk when the stati esav v'sod chaliv hem techa, and then v'chalta v'savata.
Why not from the beginning of the Torah?
Yeah.
Well, first we made the animals.
Okay, that's what the Chazal learning from that pasuk. Okay. So like this. וכבר סיפרו מייסה בזמן האריזל ואחד שנענש בחס ושלום במיסס בונים על צער אפרויכים קטנים שוילם סל לאלס במיילה אחר אימון. There was a little basket where the little pigeons used to go up to their mother, and then his wife unintentionally removed that basket, and they couldn't go to their mothers to feed them, and God forbid they got punished. So we see from here that it is a very careful Tsar Balachaim. Then he says like this, it brings a Rabbi Yehuda Chosid, Shalom Gadol Efroichem Klal. He says over here Efroichem, pigeons. However, the Lashon of Rabbi Yehuda Chosid, and if you look in the Mekoires, it talks specifically about doves, whether Toirim or Bnei Yoina, whether it's a domestic doves or wild doves, should not. Obviously, it's going to the way he explains it talks about many other animals and birds. Why? Many times you cannot be so careful not to cause them agony. Many times you can't even take care of them. Sometimes they fall and they die. Or sometimes you have at home such birds and pigeons, and the cat would eat them, or the mice would hurt them. Whether not to get involved in this, whether not to have at home any of those birds. He says like this. The only time is when, like we mentioned yesterday, all this inyanim, when we have a need for it, you can. Hashem allowed us to use the animal for our need. That's not part of Tsar Balacham. If you shech a chicken, that's not Tsar Balacham because we do it for a need. But without the need, we be very careful not to do any Tsar Balacham and torture any animals. Things like this. Especially if you have them in a cage. They cannot reach to their food on their own, so you have to provide them the food. So make sure you provide them the food on time, because otherwise they're Tsar Balacham. Say like this. When you already have pets at home, so if you give them the food on time, the reward for it, says same thing. You making sure they should not have any agony. Feed them on time. When you need also parnosa. Hashem says you took care of your pet, you give them the food on time. I'm going to give you also your parnosa beiter. Like this. Then in we nechloka apostle Tsar Balei in Tsar Bnei Odom with the Reisek with Tsar Balachayim. So like this. But Tsar Balachayim, you take the side that's the Reisek. Tsar Bnei Odom nechloka apostle with Tsar Bnei Odom. So it's like this. From that we can learn. If we look so careful, Tsar Balachayim, what the Tsar Bnei Odom. He says like this. So some saying it only with the rights of Tsar Balachayim because they're helpless. Tsar Bnei Odom, it's with Rabbanon because they could protect themselves, people. Like upon him. The Koit Miosh, Tsar Yelodim Ktanim Shen Bam Das, with the rights. According to this, it says, so God forbid agonizing little children. It's definitely the whole Svara, Tsar Balachayim, the helpless. If you Mitzvah them, it's the rights. Tsar of Bnei Odom, of human beings, it's Rabban because they more could protect themselves. But little children cannot protect themselves, so it goes back like Tsar Balachayim, the rights. Be very careful. But sorry, Shalol Tzaro. Then so Tsar Lashum Gavra, not to Tsar any person. Ki Elokim Yov Mishpat Al Kol Ne'elam. Okay. So according to this, we'll see from here like this. The idea of what some people took it as a mystical thing. Rabbi Yehuda Chosid said, or Arizal, not to have at home doves is something mystical. According to him, it's nothing mystical because it's very difficult to be careful not to mitzvah them. You might unintentionally cause them an agony, and that's why, and Hashem, for Tsar Balachayim, Hashem punishes for it. Maybe it shouldn't come to this. It's better not to have it. According to this, some people, when they do deal with people, and you could say something to agonize somebody, or especially, like I said, the children, so they're very, very careful. That we're learning, the better careful not to cause any tsar to anybody. And it says, if somebody, God forbid, with Tsar Balachayim, for in some cultures they have that. They make all kind of competitions between animal and some animals have a lot of agony for that. it says it's a big punishment for that. So to stay away from anything that causes tsar balachayim. Like I said, only when we have a need for it. So the balachayim, Hashem allows us to use them. They were created for us. But stam to organize them for no reason, it's not. So according to this, it's better. According to this, better not. So we said by dove, it's not only dove. According to this, any birds, if you have at home, because you might come to tsar balachayim, it could be sakona because of that. That's why it says better not to have. According to this, would be any birds at home. Again, it's not also mitzad atzma. You might come to tsar balachayim, and you come to it. God forbid, and the way it's brought in other sforim, it could cause God forbid that says a person should not have children, or God forbid the children could die young. So we can see from here how severe it could be. So it's better. That's what he recommends. Stay away from this.
Okay. Off button.